Chances are, if you're any type of musician, you've probably seen these videos in your recommended. Larnell Lewis, amazing drummer, amazing performer, listens to a song once and then plays it along. Nearly perfectly. Like what? Larnell Lewis is kind of a musical maniac. He's absolutely ridiculous. Every time I look at this man, I'm a happy man. Like seriously, if you haven't watched those videos, pause now and watch the video. It's that good. Now, even a drumming master like Larnell Lewis has a couple of techniques that he uses to do something so powerful. So for today's video, I've analyzed what he does, put it in a big list. We're gonna go through it step by step and see if we can start analyzing songs like him. Now, kind of a disclaimer, Larnell Lewis is of course a drummer, so the techniques he uses for dissecting music that fast are very effective for other drummers and instrumentalists. But since on this channel we talk a lot about writing and constructing music as well, at the end we need to talk a little bit about what that means for producers. To listen to a song once and play along with it nearly perfectly, once again, let that sink in, there are a couple of things that we need to do. To analyze a song at that speed and that accuracy, we're going to need to do a couple of things. We're going to compare song analysis to grocery shopping. Now imagine that the song you're going to analyze is a supermarket. And now imagine that the things you want to know about this song in order to analyze it, play along with it, dissect it in any meaningful way, maybe it's a reference track, all the things you want to know about this track are your grocery list. And so when you go to a supermarket, you want to know all the things and write it down on your grocery list so you can take your list down to the supermarket. Now, so we arrive at the supermarket and I've taken a look at the Larnell Lewis videos and tried to write down, analyze what he does, what he pays attention to. And there's things that are very big that draws attention and things that are very small that draws attention. So from biggest to smallest, the things that Larnell Lewis pays attention to are structure, tension, anchor points like melodic and rhythmic motifs, smaller anchor points like melodic and rhythmic cues, like the up crash in Enter Sandman. Then there's chords and chord changes. And then finally, mood shifts. Now this one kind of drifts in between. It can be small things, it can be big things. I was hesitant to put it at the top of the list, right next to structure and tension curve, because mood shifts are big parts and indicators of what's happening in a song. But all the other parts make the mood shift. First on the list, structure. You want to know when things happen, and you want to know how long they take. That's just really simple. Having a solid understanding of what structure your song has provides you with a very good foundation to place all the other things on. Number 2, tension curve. So now that we know what happens when, it's important to figure out how these different parts link into each other and flow in and out of each other, so that when time comes to play along with your song, you have a more natural and fluid understanding of what is about to happen. All right, number 3, anchor points. Now, I've called this anchor points because now that we know what the structure is and how things flow into each other and in and out of each other, we can start filling in this skeleton that we have and start asking ourselves what happens melodically and rhythmically in the big sense and in the small sense. So big, broad, melodic and rhythmic cues that I would call anchor points that anchor a structure into the song, in the big sense would be like the bass line in the first video.
But the bass is giving me the steady. I might follow the bass.
In this part, there's a lot of solos and they go everywhere, and the bass is the only thing moving the groove forward, staying consistent and providing a sense of foundation and structure. Now, in other songs, this might be repeating hooks or a melody that someone sings, anything that in the broad sense doesn't happen in any part except that part of the structure. So I'm calling all of those big anchors because they happen a lot of the time, they're very clear, big anchors. Now, a smaller anchor would be something like the up crash in Enter Sandman. It happens consistently, it's just one note, it's the 8th note before the first of the beat, but it happens consistently in most parts of the structure. So when you listen to Enter Sandman in moments when it's not there, It's a very clear indicator that when it comes back, we've come back to some familiar part of the structure we've already seen before. And then the smallest anchor, the smallest cues, melodic or rhythmic, are something like a drum fill, a bass slide once before the final chorus, things like that. Just tiny things that you can pay attention to, that if you hear them, you know something's coming. Now we're getting to chord changes. Now I'm putting chords and chord changes kind of at the bottom of the list, harmony, because I feel like harmony, if I think about chords, usually you have a set amount of chords that loop over and over again. Sometimes you have 2 sets of chord progressions throughout your songs, sometimes 3, maybe like a third one in your bridge. And even if you do, they're more part of the emotional backbone of your song. So they're more part of your flow and sound and mood than that they're actually part of something noticeable that hooks you in. General terms right here. That being said, the last one on the list is mood shifts. Disregard anything I just said about emotional foundations not being important to notice as something when you're dissecting a song. Really, what I mean by mood shifts is a structure-defining moment. So anything that happens in your song, such as change of chords, change of melody, change of bassline, change of rhythm, change of tempos. In Enter Sandman, that would be the moment in the chorus where everything modulates 2 semitones up. So why did I say disregard that when I said chords are more about emotional background and then I switched into mood shifts? Well, what I mean is when you listen to music in this type of way, you really want to find anchor points. I'm going to keep repeating it. You want to find anchor points in your music that you can hook onto that make you understand the music in a more structured way. When harmony loops or it switches between 2 or 3 chord progressions, the switch is something to take note of, but everything in between is more of an emotional backbone, so you don't notice it in your structural analysis. I mean, just saying, harmony is super important in any song, but in this type of analysis, you leave it out to keep it simpler for yourself. Less is more. Which brings me to my next point, which is how to use this list. How do you implement these things? I've walked you through the big to small list with mood shifts, kind of whatever. But how can you use this stuff? Now, to tell you how to do this, most of them speak for themselves. If you want to know a structure, listen and count along with the structure. You want to know melodic and rhythmic hooks? Listen. All of it really comes down to listen. Don't try to do anything. Don't try to play along. Don't try to imagine yourself playing while you do it. Just listen. Just listen to all the things that you notice and pay full attention. 100% commitment to just listening to the song. Larnell is very strict on this point. If you listen intently. Nothing else. And afterwards, once you're done listening, and I'm gonna quote Larnell here.
I think I'm gonna have to write this down. If I want to be successful, I think the saying is the shortest pencil is longer than the longest memory. So yeah, I'm gonna write this down.
And this is what I like about this man. You have nothing to prove. Just write it down. You'll remember. Probably you'll forget a couple of things if you don't write it down. Hell, even if you forget or you didn't figure some things out, run it back. Listen to it again. Make notes. Write down the structure, the tension curve, draw it along, Say, make little notes for yourself saying, here's a melodic hook, and here's maybe that up crash if we're talking about like Enter Sandman, or here's where that swells, or here where's the beat drops, or just give yourself a little overview on a piece of paper so you can put it next to you and read it after you're done. This is all about breaking it down to the bare minimum, just ripping everything away and keeping the skeleton. That's morbid, man. Ripping the flesh. No, anyway, this is just, you're dissecting everything, keeping only what you need, write it down, put it next to you so you can read as clear as day what's going to happen when, and you're going to be fine. Now, last point. Now, I think this is such a big thing that I'm going to do a separate video on this. So if I did, links up here. But Larnell really hammers home the importance of listening to the song, listening intently. When you're done, writing it down. And once you've written it down, close your eyes and imagine yourself playing the song. Imagine vividly you moving every limb in your body. If you're playing piano, if you're playing drums or guitar or bass guitar, imagine yourself playing the song. Now, most of us are writers as well. We talk a lot about writing and structuring music on this channel. So if you're more of a producer or a composer, something you definitely want to do and learn is to listen in your mind. So you can do this during your dishes or during commute. Just spend like 10 minutes a day actively, vividly trying to imagine your music. Imagine the way it moves, the way it feels, the way it rocks back and forth. Try to imagine the sound design you would use. Try to imagine the melodies and the counterpoints, and try to imagine how the chords would feel. So just like any skill on this channel we talk about, this might not come natural to you, and if it doesn't, it might take a while for you to get a hang of it. If that's you, don't give up trying, but don't beat yourself up as well. It's not gonna make you feel better. It's not gonna make you hear it in your head better. Do it at your own pace, but definitely don't give up. Keep trying to listen in your head, vividly trying to picture what your song trying to sound like, and that's gonna bring tons of clarity in your music. So there you have it, the essence of the way I think Larnell Lewis listens to music, because I mean, it's the way I dissect this. So if you found any way we can improve this list, or anything that I missed, anything you think I got wrong, leave it down in the comments. And as always, if this video helped you in any way, or when you're the type of person who likes when analogies don't get actually fleshed out, then consider subscribing, and thanks for watching.